Hello, Ishwarya. How are you?
Hi Mohit, I'm doing good. How are you?
I am good. All right. Tell me something about yourself, and then we will begin the technical part of it.
Okay. Hi Mohit. My name is W. Aishwarya. I'm a Salesforce PD1 certified developer with a total years of experience of 5 years, and relevant Salesforce experience is 3 years into development. I started my career in the year 2018. I joined Atos Intel, now known as Atos, in 2018 October, and after working for 2.9 years in Atos, I joined Cognizant in the year 2021 August. My day-to-day activities in the project which I'm working right now is of an individual contributor. Whenever there are requirements coming in from the client, we do have a internal call, and we discuss among ourselves about the approach of the requirements. And once the call is over, I proceed with my analysis and start developing the requirement. And then after finishing the development, I move on to the unit testing. And since I'm working in a enhancement project, what we do is that to test the newly developed code whether it is working fine with the existing functionality or not, we deploy the code in the lower environments, so as to check whether the deployment is successful and it's working with the existing functionality and code or not. And if it's successful, then we move on to the uh, deployment to QA and then production.
So, how many team members are there in your team?
Total 5 team members are there.
Okay. So, do you work in a sprint model, or it just you got the user story and then you can deliver whenever you want to deliver, or whenever it is ready to be delivered?
No, no, it's in sprint model only. Like, we are following the agile methodology. 2 weeks for a sprint, 1 week for development, then 1 week for unit testing, and then 1 week for deployment. So in the last week where we give for deployment, there only we do all these deployments, like deploying to the lower environment and then checking and then going towards the deployment to QA and production.
And who does the quick QA? Like somebody from your team or from the business owners?
Deploying to QA and production, right? We don't do it because like we have there is a separate team for that, deployment team for that. I'm a important part for that, because whenever the deployments are done, I'm the main POC, which who they connect to me. Okay. Because I prepare all the documents related to the deployment as well. We maintain those documents, like before the deployment and after the deployment. Like, we also make a list of steps also, what we will be going to do in the deployment.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Which tool do you use for deployments?
Chain sets.
Okay, have you also experienced any other tool available? Because see, what happens is that changes if I have to do a very large deployment, it becomes very hectic and tedious for me to do it via chain sets.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, but the thing is that like, the projects in which I've mostly worked are mostly enhancement projects. To the existing functionality, we are developing new, some changes we are doing in the code, or adding a method in the class. So it's like that. So that is why we are using chain sets.
okay, and in any of your previous experience, you use same tool, chain sets?
Yeah, chain sets. So mostly enhancement projects only I've worked, so that's why.
Okay, okay, that is fine. All right, we'll start with some of the admin topics and then we will move on to few of the development related stuff. Okay.
Okay.
Have you worked with custom metadata?
Mm, I haven't worked with it, but I do have knowledge on it.
Okay, so let's say I have created a custom metadata in previous sprint. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say its name is industry calculator. Okay, and this has four fields. Okay, now in this sprint, I've got a new requirement. Like I have to add two different fields, two new fields on this metadata, and we have 400 records on that metadata. So I have to update all 400 records because I have to add value on those two fields on all 400 records I have. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I created it last sprint. It was easier for me because it was a new, insert for me to update records and create a new metadata. Okay. So
Mm-hmm.
this time I have to update the existing record. I got the extract of that custom metadata after creating the field. Now I need to update it. How will you update it in your current project if you get this requirement?
Okay. So if I want to update the records, I want to put I'm doing some kind of DML on the custom metadata records. So in that case, so I can use the package XML and do it.
See, how let's say you have to update account. How do you update accounts? Via data loader, right?
Yeah, yeah, via data loader. Yes.
Update 400 accounts, you will get the extract of those
Hmm.
400 records
Hmm.
and map it with the help of ID and deploy it or
Yes.
upload it. Same
Yes.
is the case with custom metadata records. Here we have to update the records which are already there. Okay.
Okay.
So have you ever updated any of the custom metadata records or you just create manually?
No, no, I have created manually, but I did not update it.
Hmm. Okay.
Hmm.
Because see, if it is five, six records, it is okay to update.
Then it's fine. Yeah.
Have more, it will become really difficult for me to. Okay, that's okay. We have not worked much on the metadata, so that is fine. Okay. Have you worked on Sales Cloud? Which cloud you have
Yes.
really worked on? Sales.
So I've worked on Sales Cloud and Service Cloud. So mostly on Sales Cloud.
Okay. Have you also worked on CPQ part of it or just the Sales Cloud?
No, no, just the Sales Cloud.
So we have opportunity object, right?
Hmm.
And then we have another object called products.
Yes.
Can you tell me the relationship between opportunity and product?
Master detail.
Are you sure about it?
Yes, it's a master detail relationship between them.
That means product is the child and opportunity is the master, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. See, there are two users. Okay. User A and user B. Okay.
Mhm.
User A is owner of an account. Okay. And now user A has shared that record with user B manually. Okay.
Okay.
Now you as an administrator change the owner of that account. So instead of
Mhm.
user A, now user C is the owner of account. Okay.
Okay.
So now once you have changed the owner, what will be the access of that account to user B will be? Will he be able to access that account or he'll not be able to?
Okay. Like what OWD are we assuming on account then?
OWD is private. OWD is private. User
Okay.
A has shared record with user B manually. So via manual,
Manually.
he has just
Okay.
shared the record and then you change the owner of that account. So instead
Hmm.
of now C is the owner.
Hmm.
What I want to know is that whether user B will be able to access that account or not.
Okay. So from B we have changed to C, and we had manually shared it. No, it won't have access.
Okay, and what if instead of manual rule, we shared it via sharing rule?
So if we would have done it using sharing rules, in that case, if we are doing it with sharing rules, then we will be using one of the types of the sharing rules, like
Okay.
the
Owner based sharing.
owner based sharing rule. So in the owner based sharing rule, like there will be some entry criteria, like based on which, like user b's record will be sorry, user a's record will be sharing to user b. So that case also I think it won't.
See, yeah. So obviously, with sharing rule, it won't because
Hmm.
if you will
A
change
different case.
you will
Hmm.
change the ownership, it will recalculate.
Hmm. Yes.
The manual sharing, it will not do. That is why it is known as manual sharing. Okay, so if it is the manual sharing, user B still will be able to see. Okay.
Okay.
Right. Have you worked on lightning flows?
Record triggered flows.
Okay. Record trigger flows. Okay. So when I insert 200 records, let's say via data loader,
Hmm.
okay, how
Hmm.
many times a flow will run?
We are inserting 200 records from a data loader. Okay. And so if the flows criteria is like the first entry criteria is that we are on the creation of the records, on the creation of record it will run. So in that case it will run 200 times.
Okay. How many times trigger will run?
If we are inserting 200 records, yeah, 200 per transaction.
So, but I read somewhere that two trigger processes 200 records in a chunk.
A chunk as in at a time, if it is executing, it will be 200. Say suppose we are processing 1000 records. In that case, through a trigger, if you're doing some logic on 1000 records, in that case what will happen, so it will be 1000 divided by 200, so that means the trigger will run 5 times.
Okay, let me put it in this way. We are processing let's say 1000 records. Okay,
Hmm. Hmm.
via data loader. Okay,
Hmm.
how
Hmm.
many times a trigger will run and how many times flows will run?
1000 records via data loader.
Via data loader, everything is on insert. There is no entry criteria, neither on trigger nor on flow. So it should.
Okay, so if we are inserting 1000 records, so on a, if it is invoking a trigger, then 5 times the trigger will run,
Mhm.
because in each at a time 200 records will be processed. So in that way 5 times the trigger will run. And if I say about flow, because flow works on individual record, individual record creation or updation, so it will run according to the number of records.
What's the advantage of flows then? Like why everybody keep on saying that flows are faster, flows are easier, better. Like if it will run 1000 times, then it will be so bad for performance versus if we compare it with triggers, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, fine, no problem. Don't worry. I'll have to explain this again. That's what I understood. Okay.
Okay.
Uh, okay. Can you point out couple of major best practices of flows?
Okay, so best practices of writing flows would be is to use minimal number of elements, like the number of elements which are required according to the requirement. That much elements only should be used. Unnecessary elements should be removed. Then there should not be like we should avoid nested for loops here also. And if we are writing a flow, we should take care about the entry criteria as well. Like if we are like we should make it as much as simple as possible, so that it can run properly.
Okay. So, what according to you should be the better way? I have, let's say, 14 process builders, or let's say 14 workflow rules. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
Mm-hmm.
from the business, I've got this requirement to convert them to flows. Okay. There are
Mm-hmm.
four different workflow rules. I have to convert them into flows. Okay. Now, according to you, whether we should go for multiple flows, like one flow for each workflow, or we should go for a combined flow
Mm-hmm.
containing all the logic, which one will be better as per you?
So according to me, if those 40 first the first step we should do is that to analyze those 14 process builders, because there can be a possibility, right, that like few of the process builders are built on one object. Okay,
I'm
so
talking about same object. I'm talking about same object. It's not,
same object 14 process builders.
let's say workflow rules. Let's say workflow rule, not process builder, because process builder is one process builder can be very
Huge.
heavy. Yeah.
Yeah.
So workflow rules.
Okay, so workflow rules on one object only.
Yeah.
So in that case, yeah, so in that case also, there will be obviously in some of the workflow rules there will be entry criteria. So based on the entry criteria, also you have to work on it. So you can use the if loops. So in that case, if there is if the 14 workflow rules are written on one object, then it is recommended to use flows. Okay, only one flow would be fine. You can include the conditions into it, because uh, flows can work quite well on the declarative part, because you can include if statements, you can use for each loops, you can use for loops, sorry, for loops, then you can use assignment elements as well.
Mhm. Okay.
You
So
can get the records.
can we write, can we write, can we delete and can we write a flow, a single flow for delete as well as insert and update case?
So flows, this is the drawback for a flow. You cannot delete anything using a flow. Okay, that is why in that case only we go for triggers. Deletion and undeletion is not supported in flows.
Oh, we can delete. Undelete cannot be done. Delete can be done.
Okay, but okay, I have not come across that, but deletion and undeletion is what I had read.
Possible from the flow. So first, delete is possible. Second, even if it is that is, even if that is not possible, we can call the apex method and delete there.
Do it, from the flow, yeah.
So no, delete is possible. Undelete is not possible. Okay, delete is definitely possible. In fact, I have done it in my last sprint.
Okay, okay, okay,
I flow would have failed. Okay, okay, okay. So let's say there is a formula field on opportunity object. Okay.
okay.
Okay. Now you have written a before save flow, like record triggered flow, and you have to
Mhm.
update opportunity field itself. Okay, so you will go for before insert, right?
Hmm.
For update, right? So how will you get that formula field value? Because in the before save context, formula fields are not accessible in flows.
Yes.
So how will you, should you go for after flows or should you do any workaround? Have you ever encountered any of these things? Accessing formula field in the before context of flow?
No, I haven't encountered this, but flow formula fields usually work on the like whatever fields we are including inside that formula, right? It depends upon the it depends upon the values in those fields. Okay, so it will depend upon the calculation based on those two fields, and then the values will get displayed. So if you want to access the formula fields in a for safe context.
But it's not necessary. I just access the value. It's okay if I
Hmm.
just
Hmm.
said
because
like,
it is a read only field, like
yeah,
according to me, yeah, it's a read only field. Formula field is a read only field. You can only read it, and the values are recalculated every time the values are changed in like the fields which are being used in the formula field. According to that, it's calculated.
yeah. So if we just mimic the formula in flow, we'll be able to do that.
Okay.
Yeah, that is what I was expecting. Okay.
Hmm.
Okay. Have you ever written any undelete trigger?
Specifically undelete, I haven't, but there like scenarios are there where I have used undelete.
Yeah, can you explain me one scenario where you have used undelete?
There was an object like for there was an object where I was building up the roll up summary. So there I had used this undelete, as a undelete was a part actually. So yeah.
So if
So
record is getting
so
undeleted,
if, yeah, if records are, so say suppose there is a parent object and child object, and child object we are suppose rolling up the count of the child objects on the parent object, say suppose. Okay, so in that case, suppose there are at the beginning there are two child records for that parent. Okay, so now when I add one more, it will become 3. The value will be showed as 3. And if I delete one of the 3 records, then the value will be recalculated to 2.
yeah. So if you undelete it, it will again recalculate, right?
Yes, yes.
Got it. So how do you normally decide whether you should go for trigger or whether you should go for flows? Like normally, does your client tell you to go for trigger, or you uh, do your analysis and then suggest them to go for this? So what I want to
uh,
understand is, let's say you got a
Most.
requirement. Let's say you've
Mhm.
got a requirement. Who provides solution approach? You or someone in your team? Maybe your manager, your architect, or somebody, or clients tell you what to do, what not to do.
No, clients provide the requirements, because sometimes what happens is that they just know the overall idea how to do it, like sorry, not how to do it,
What to do?
but what they want actually, the end result. So but in case of the approach, yes, sometimes it's the architect. If we get stuck somewhere, and if we have thought about something, if we have thought about the approach, we go to the architect, and we discuss our ideas with him or her. And if everything works good and according to the requirement and the project, then the approach which we have suggested, we go with that. Otherwise, we discuss and then reach to a mutual decision.
Okay. So, how do you, let's say you have to do some process automation on an object, and this thing can be done via both flows and triggers. Then how do
Hmm.
you decide whether you should go for flow or trigger?
So it depends also on the complexity of the requirement. So if it's a very complex logic,
Okay.
because in a requirement, if it's a large requirement, then, and if it's a complex one, then we should think about it, and think about the approach which one to
Sorry
choose.
to cut you. So, did you ever encounter something which was not possible to do with flow due to complexity, and then you chose Apex?
Mm, No, nothing. Actually, there was one requirement, very small functionality which we had developed. It was a small functionality which was added to the existing one. So we had to. It was not a complex one, but through flows we were not able to achieve it. So that is why we had to go with the triggers, and we had to, because the whole code was on the Apex side. So we could not like, we also discussed on converting the whole code into flow as well,
Hmm.
but it was not being possible because all the conditions and criterias were not supporting. So that is why we had to go with Apex in that case.
Okay, how how recursion happens on triggers? Did you ever encounter recursion in any of your trigger?
No, recursion I haven't encountered, but I know what happens if there is a continuous loop forming, then recursion occurs.
Okay, because you haven't got it, I will not ask further question on that. Okay.
Hmm.
Have you ever used any trigger framework, or normally do you use any trigger framework in your project?
Yes, yes, yes. So we maintain logicless triggers, and we create trigger handler classes for that. We write the logic in the trigger handler class, and we maintain separate methods for the logic, and whichever method we have to call from that particular trigger, we call that method from that trigger. Like whether it's before context or after context, we mention the criteria using the trigger dot is after and is insert, like that. Yeah.
Hmm. Okay, okay. Let's talk about batch. Tell me the recent. Have you written batch epics?
Yes.
Tell me the recent batch you wrote.
So there was a cleanup activity which was happening because what happened is that in the organization, the Salesforce licenses were over. Okay, and every day new users were coming up to give access, and they were wanting the Salesforce licenses. So on a discussion with the architect and other team members, like so I was asked about my opinion, so I did my analysis, and I told them we can achieve this using batch effects. What we can do, we can do a cleanup activity. It will be a one time cleanup activity. For We will check for the users, okay, the users who have not logged for more than 90 days, okay, for the last 90 days. And what we can do is that we can deactivate those users. So once we deactivate the user, the license will get freed up, and new users can be assigned for that license.
Yeah. Okay. Can that also be done with this schedule batch?
Uh, Scheduling can also be done. In that case, it will be an automated activity. If we schedule it for, say, suppose, it should run for 30
30,
days, 30
30.
days or yeah 60 days, like that. Yeah. So or 3 months also. Even if we are considering a user who has not logged in for more than 90 days, then we can consider for 3 months.
Right. Right. Okay. Yeah. Because batch will just do either we schedule it and
Hmm.
it depends. Like user
Yeah.
management is a tough thing. Tough, not
Hmm.
tough in terms of doing it, but tough in terms of
Hmm.
maintaining.
Yeah.
Now user,
Yeah.
sometimes you will have leadership people who will never log in yet they want access. If you
Hmm.
remove their access, they will always, behind your back. So it will be difficult.
Hmm.
Okay, can we write subqueries in the start method and then just pass the result of subquery in the execute method?
Subqueries, as in, are you talking about the inner queries?
Yeah, yeah. So let's say I did the main query on account and then there is a subquery on contact and I just want to
Mm-hmm.
pass those contacts which were part of subquery to execute method.
Mm-hmm.
Will it be a good idea or we should pass all accounts and then do subquery or further query in the execute method itself?
So the start method is usually to collect all the data on which we want to do the operation in the execute method. So if we can collect those contacts in the start method only, then it would be easier to perform the logic in the execute method as well. Because start method will not execute multiple times in a batch apex, right? So it will execute once and it will give you the data. So since the execute method will run multiple times, like according to the number of records and the batch size which we have mentioned, according to that. So if all the records on which we have to do the logic, if we get it at once, then it would be good.
Yeah, so but my question is, on the start method, we have the main query on account
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm.
subquery contact. What I want to pass to execute method is just the contact part.
Contacts. Mm.
But we do that, when we send the query locator, we just send the whole query and then it passes the
Mm.
whole results to execute
Mm.
map. If we'll do that, then it will pass the account data. Subquery will be
Yes.
part of it, but it will not only be subquery.
Hmm.
That is what my question is. Okay, no
So
problem. You
I
can
haven't
try that.
encountered, yeah, yeah, I haven't encountered subqueries in batch. Yeah.
Okay, so let's say I have executed a batch. That batch is running in parallel. Okay, I
Mm-hmm.
want to see the progress. Like there was 10,000 records. I want to see how many have processed, how many are still in processing, and how many have failed. I want to see the exact how it is happening. Is there any way I can check it in the Salesforce?
Like
Uh,
the number of records you were saying, or the
yeah,
batch job status only you were saying.
any way I can check the progress of my batch which I've just executed.
So you can visit the Apex Jobs page in Salesforce from the setup. That is one way, and you can also query. There's an object called async Apex Job. So there also that object also you can query and get the data and see the status from there.
Okay, and if I want to abort it, like I saw and it is working fine, and now
Hmm.
I just want to abort it.
So if you want to abort it, then you can do it through the Apex page, Apex Jobs page.
Okay, is there any other way of doing it?
This is what it's coming to my mind right now, because this is something aborting means we are doing something manually, right? Like we as developers. So I think.
Okay, fine. Okay, see, let's say you have written a batch, okay, which will update all the accounts and let's say update a checkbox based on certain condition. Okay,
Hmm.
you have created this batch and did the unit testing on one of the account and it is working perfectly fine. Now,
Hmm.
how do you ensure that it will work for all the accounts? Let's say you have 5 lakh account on your production.
Hmm.
Okay, so how will you ensure it will work for all 5 lakh record with just the unit testing? Or you will have a full copy where you have all the 5 lakh records replica of your production and will you run that on all the 5 lakh records? How you process this kind of requirement? How do you test your batch epics normally through the way we test the functionality?
Mhm. So, in that case, as I told you, like the code also which we write and we deploy it to our lower environments, right? The data is mostly same, happens to be same in the environment. We keep it, we maintain it. So what we do is that since lower by saying lower environments, what I mean is that we have releases, like according to the sprints we have, like there are releases. So there is R7, R8, R9, R10, like that we have releases. So for each release there is an environment. So what happens is that right now we are in R10 release. So if you consider the lower environments, that is R7, R8, these are the lower environments. So we do the batch apex testing in that way only. We can run that batch class in the lower environment and check on those 5 lakh records.
Okay, so these are your full copy, you're saying, right? Not the partial copy. If they have exact same data as production, then that means it is full copy sandboxes.
Yeah, because for every release we have that environment. So this is something, these releases have already been in production, okay, but since there is an upgrade in the release, so that the next release is there. So it's like that.
Hmm. Okay. What is set timeout method? Did you use it in any of your LWC code?
No.
Okay. You work on lighting web components currently?
Yeah, I have worked, but that was a very small part. But still, I'm exploring in LWC.
Okay. Okay. Got it. Fine. What about integrations?
Yeah, integration. I have worked for 8 months.
Okay, so let's say you have got a requirement to integrate Salesforce with SAP.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What solution will you present to client as a developer?
First, we will be mm, actually we need to build a connection between those two, Salesforce and the SAP. So to build a connection, we need to use in the where there are many protocols, but uh, I would we can use OAuth, and we can build a connection between SAP and Salesforce, and yeah, that's how we can build a connection and pull the data from SAP to Salesforce or vice versa.
Okay. How do you test the integration? Like integration is dependent on third parties. So how do you test
Hmm.
that integration is working or not?
So, so the project which I worked on was like say integration project. So it was a integration between two Salesforce applications, like via middleware called Tipco. So how we were testing is that the other team used to send the data through Tipco, and the Tipco was getting the result, and the Tipco used to pass it on to us that yes, this particular data is coming has been inserted in your environment, and like that. They provide an XML also. So yeah. Mm.
Any other middleware tool you have experienced in your career till now?
Mm, Middleware tool, as in I have used many tools, but not like according to integration, only one till now.
Okay, fine. Okay, see, so let's talk about project. Let's say who decides the story points? Like let's say you got a user story. Who decides how much time this story is going to take? Is it
Hmm.
you or is it your manager or is it client?
uh, Actually, it's a mutual discussion, because as we as developers, we know that the like we can get the complexity and all, so the architect is also present in the call, so we decide accordingly.
Okay, so you and your client sits on a same call, do the sprint planning, and then you decide.
Mhm. Yes,
And who decides which story is going to you, which story is going to the other person?
that they are going to decide, because I work as an individual contributor, so according to the bandwidth they assign it.
Okay, okay, got it. Okay, so how do you focus on your self-learning apart from all these things going on in your
Okay,
career?
so based on the self learning, I go on to trailheads as well. Like I do resolve trailheads modules, and like if anything new has come, then I try to explore that. And as I told you, like LWC, I'm still exploring, and yeah, I do practice LWC on my end as well. And I refer to, yeah, I do refer multiple resources as well, in order to learn something new and discuss with my colleagues as well. If something new comes up in Salesforce, we do have a discussion on that.
Which is your favorite Salesforce topic?
Asynchronous.
Okay, just tell me one thing. Why Salesforce does not allow passing of list of a subject in future method?
So, list of S objects means it is a non-primitive data type. So, S objects means it will have records or data. If I say in simple words, so if the data gets changed anytime during the between the execution time of the future method to the till the time it will get executed. So between that time frame, if it changes, then we will get inaccurate results based on the older set of data. So that is why as object list is not passed in future methods. For to overcome this only, queuable came into picture.
Yeah. So, I mean, Salesforce very well know that if we allow them to pass the, uh, let's say, set of IDs, they'll be able to get those IDs ultimately, and then we'll be able to fetch those records.
Yes.
But I will stop with that as well, right?
IDs you can pass as a parameter because ultimately that will be a string. If you are
Yeah.
if I
But
say that.
but
So
if the purpose is not to be able to update those record, and if I'm able to pass the ID, I will ultimately pass the ID and will get that record. And if I get that record, I'll be able to update that, right? So they later on come up, I mean, they later on realize that obviously people are using the, misusing it. That is
mm,
why they came up with other solutions. Okay, fine. I will stop the recording now and will give you a couple of feedbacks. Okay.
okay, sure.
Yes. Yes.